Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Revisiting Era podcast. This episode is going to be called Fake Friends. With me, I have my real friend, Claudia.
Hello.
All right, Claudia, what do you do? Who are you? Tell me about yourself.
Oh, okay. So I work for a nonprofit. I'm a program coordinator at an API nonprofit in DC. So I really love my job, what I do, and like the work that I do as well. And how do I know Nadia?
We worked in retail together. How long ago was that? When did we meet? Like 2 years, I want to say. Almost 2 years?
Oh my God, it's been almost 2 years.
It has. That's crazy. I feel like I've known you my whole life, though.
That's true.
Which is weird. That's how you know the friendship is like genuine and true.
Mm-hmm. I know. We didn't start talking till like later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that we started hanging out more often now because I think I go over to her house a little bit too much.
No, but that's okay. I love it. But then again, like, we didn't talk because that's just me testing the waters. Like, whenever I enter a new work environment, like, we were all new to the environment, I need to see and observe people. Do you feel yourself doing that?
I do. I think it's because I'm like, do I want to be friends with someone during work? Because obviously you have work boundaries as well. But I always wanted to be friends with her. She was so fun to talk to during work because we were so bored.
We were so bored out of our minds just folding clothes. I know all you wanted to do was leave.
I felt that.
Just clock out. But no, like I like the work, but it did get boring sometimes. And I remember one of the rules being like, you can't talk on the sales floor. And what did we do? Talk. And that's how we became the best of friends that we are today.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. All right, Claudia, what brings you to this podcast? Like, why did you want to do a podcast?
I think it's going to be really fun to talk about these kind of topics. And I think, who doesn't want to do a podcast where you're your best friend?
Oh my gosh, I love you.
I love you too.
Aw. So the revisiting era. What era are we going to revisit today, Claudia?
Fake friends, guys.
Absolutely. So, fake friends, toxic friends, relationships, all the above.
So many.
We
Friends
have been
break
through so much. My first question to start this discussion off is, why do fake friends exist? I think something we were talking about before while we were drafting the script was toxicity is dopamine. I feel like humans in general tend to be attracted to the quick and the now. You know, I want to ask you, why is toxicity a dopamine for people?
I think it's because it's so addicting to all the toxic traits, and it's like very fun for our like brains. It drives us more and more insane to like be the best version of someone else, but you're not.
Absolutely, I totally get that. I also think it's our immunity to change. I feel like humans are very hesitant to find changing in anything. So I feel like growing up, since being a child, you are exposed, like if you go to a public private school, you're exposed to a bunch of people your age who form these groups, who form these relationships based out of like what gives them joy, immediate gratification, essentially is what I'm going at. And then another point would be the spontaneousness that comes with how these people live their lives. I'm sure like in adolescence and above, or maybe even younger, you experience like the thrill, the adrenaline that comes with being friends with people just for the sake of being their friend, like what they do. Do you have anything to say about that?
I have so much to say about that because I think when we see a bunch of friend groups and we want to be like the popular, the it girl, we want to be like people to recognize us throughout the halls or like through like social media and other like platforms or like other recognitions and validations from other people, because we think that it's like it'll boost our ego, but in actually a sense it just cause more pain to later on.
It's us trying to fit in to be someone we are not. It gives us validation, and is that not what we all seek nowadays?
That is very true. I think I think people love it because it's like your own compliment, and we all want to fit in and just be the it girl, you know?
Absolutely. Do you think fake friends or the toxicity of it all, do you think some people assume it's the cure to loneliness?
I'll say so, yeah. I think it's because the amount of friends you have will cure something that you're going through either at home or through something through school or like work. I think it's a distraction, and it'll help you through like a lot of works, but inside you just kind of pushing yourself through something that you don't want to do.
Absolutely. So in a way that makes us naive, that we think we get dopamine out of toxicity. I think
Basically.
people are just naive. But I noticed that the brain tricks us into thinking that is okay, and I feel like it does that because it's something we're familiar. And like I was saying, like humans do not like change. And if you feel validated, you feel like you're doing something right, like you're going in the right direction, you're moving yourself forward. When in life, it's clearly the opposite. Do you think you relate to that?
Yeah, I think we get attracted to a lot of friends and we see that and we compare ourselves to a bunch of friend groups and other like people around us, and we need to have 20, 30 friends, and we're like and try to keep up with everyone as well. And people's like, "Oh, you have that many friends. Wow, how do you do it? Or how do you like keep up with that?" And we're like, and you just keep chasing and chasing and chasing, and it's like we just think that it's like we're doing something right, and our brain think this is what we need and this is healthy for us, but in reality it's not like healthy for us because we're just chasing something that we just don't want.
For sure. How did you identify your own toxic behaviors? I know it's a very like blunt question, but like how did you get to that conclusion that you understood that you have toxic behaviors and you wanted to change, basically?
I would say for me I was a mostly a mean girl, so like we were just like basically
Ooh, Claudia.
I
The
know
bully.
I was. So we just gossip about like a lot. I think when you know all the gossip and all the secrets and all the tea, and you know all the information from other dirt from other girls or other guys, and it's so interesting to see that I was noticing that how mean I was, like telling girls that you're ugly or telling guys you just wasn't the one. You can't be in our group. So like I kind of block off for like those kind of things, and I think those gossips are like and talking bad about other girls too. I think that was not right because obviously you know what gossip does, it spreads so quickly. So
Oh, for sure.
I think following the footsteps from others like girls and other mean girls as well, I think I always think that was what society brings us to today. And I always think that's like it's right, but it's always basically I just bullied, which is kind of sad to see that as well.
No, but you've grown from that. So
Yeah.
just being able to recognize that you did that and I am gonna improve myself as a person now, it shows a lot about like who you are and how you are developing over time. For me, Claudia, I was actually the one being bullied. So it was so hard at grade school, all the way through high school, and even some college. I literally was spread rumors about, talked about, told things to, but in a way, hurt people hurt people. So then I became the bully, I feel like, in the middle of college. And that's when I noticed, I am so rude, I am so mean, I am so fake to so many people. But the only reason I was able to identify my own toxic behaviors is because I switched roles with my oppressors. I, for once, had that power to make other people feel bad. And in a way, it gave me validation. But I would observe what happened to me. And in a way, I was like, I looked at myself and I was like, who have I become? Why am I doing this? This is wrong. This is hurtful. And if I want to have a reputation for myself, a professional one, if I want to mean something to other people's lives, because I wasn't mean to everyone, it was only a select few of people. But if I am going to be mean to those people, what is that going to say to those people who I help, to those people who view me as a role model, a mentor, a life coach? Like, I am being very hypocritical by that. And so observing it through other people who did that to me is how I was able to identify my toxic behaviors of my fake qualities.
Honestly, that's the funny thing is I actually got bullied as well. I think
That's not funny.
I know that's not funny at all, but like that's like for me, it's like the roles got the reverse when I used to be a mean girl. A lot of people would. It's mostly on the discrimination side, and
Discrimination and top tier, like.
racist jokes. A lot of like ching chong. Some obviously I'm a Korean American. A lot of that, and a lot of people thought I was Chinese, or I probably get and people would talk bad about me. Like I think they would say like, oh, she stole this person, this guy, or this boy, like blah 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 X Y and Z, and I'm like, I haven't done anything. So like I think there was a lot of social media posts when social media actually was actually popular during high school, about me, about saying that I stole someone's man, or like I'm just the ugliest person, or I would be called different names. I think when I actually felt like when the roles actually got reversed, I think it really hurted the most, where I felt like and all your friends turn on you, and it's like you feel like the worst person. I think you had this many friends and now you are like
You have
literally
nothing.
nothing.
Your world is falling apart, basically. I have a side question for you, and I feel like we can both answer this in some sense. I knew you grew up in like an area, like a community where you feel like you stood out, and you mentioned like discrimination being one of the top forms of bullying. As for me, because I was raised in a mostly white, predominantly white, conservative Christian private school, I had to go through that for 11 years, and like literally the first comments that were made about me were about the color of my skin and my ethnicity. And so I'm sure you have some experiences with that, like young, all the way through high school, growing up in where you are from.
What's it called? I did grow up in a white community. I was the only Korean American in most of my classes, even throughout college too. Like it's crazy that friends can affect how you are. Like if you didn't have that much money, like your appearance wise, and like how you stand out to other folks, like other people as well. It's so sad to see, like, hear that and saying it too. Like people judge by your appearance. I did say in the beginning that people will say, "Ching Chong, you have small eyes. You just don't look the same as the other white girls." Like I didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes. Like unfortunately, and
Not unfortunately, like we're beautiful. Like, we're women of color.
yes, POC.
Ethnic women, like.
Yes.
But it was hard to see that as a kid because you're the only one, and like you literally feel like everyone hates you. So
That's so true, and I thought I had need to fit into every friend group because I wasn't the same as my other friends, because I didn't have blue eyes, blonde hair. People will make fun of little things like your lunches. Like I bring Korean food a lot, and people were like, "Ew, what is that?"
literally, one time this one girl was like, "What are you eating?" She took it. It was literally plantains. She took it, smelled it, and then like threw it across the table. She was like, "Ugh, like that's gross. Like, why are you eating that?"
Yeah,
Disrespectful.
that's so crazy that I think one girl, she like, "Ew, why did you bring that stinky food?"
Yeah.
And then I threw it away, and I was like, "Yeah, it is stinky," and like I follow along with it, and it's my own culture. But now I'm a proud Korean American, but like it felt like I needed to like
Hide yourself in a way.
pretty much, and like basically follow the rules of what the girls were doing. Like they had, so like American foods were like mostly Twinkies.
Not
Like
Twinkies.
yeah, it was Twinkies.
I love me some Twinkies though.
And like Capri Sun Lunchables and like those Danimals, like those American food, I had to transfer it myself. Like you have to transfer yourself to someone different. You're changing yourself, and you feel like it's better for you. And going back to the toxicity of dopamine, and you're just doing something that you don't want to do.
You don't want to do it, but you do it because you think it's going to get you something
That's so
that
true.
you want. I remember literally being like in the summertime, like being so scared to be out in the sun because I would get darker. And I was like, I want to be like the white girls. I want to be as pale as I can. And like, I'm Hispanic, like I'm brown, or like, I'm not going to get any lighter than I am. So I would just like avoid the sun, and I was like, I have to stand in the shade. I have to wear like long sleeves. I have to like not do anything possible not to tan. And I think that was like a huge thing. I was like, like you were saying, like we were forced to change ourselves. We didn't want to, but it felt like we had to.
Yeah, I think that's just a crazy part of us, because we were just so young, and we always thought it was like necessary. But my parents would tell me like, you don't need to change. Why are you changing for something? And then my parents would ask me, why are you buying this food? It's so unhealthy. Because a lot of Korean foods are like very healthy, very like on the medicine. So Korean people like
holistic alternative medicine.
basically, yeah. And then they're like, why are you eating this junk? And I was like, oh, all my friends eats it, so I need to eat it.
Yeah, like mom, that is not a choice. Like I'm like being ridiculed every day.
Yeah, it's very sad. Like that, I like looking back at it. It's like, why did I change something that I don't need to?
Yeah, I never want to see my kids in that position.
No.
But that actually leads us into the next question. It's identify individuality. How do you identify individuality, and how did we learn to prioritize ourselves?
I started to do that more in college versus like my high school, grade school, elementary school, like middle school. But I didn't like literally. I wanted to follow anyone in my friend group because I just thought it was just right. I would say I started to prioritize myself, like doing more self care. Trying to get myself Starbucks in college, like the little swipe thing that I had in my card that in our like ID, and I think that always helped. I still do it to this day because it's so much like it feels so relaxing. Or like I would go out to like treat myself, like try to do more solo dates. I don't need any man to take me on a date. I can afford my own date.
Absolutely. Independent woman. Yeah, you really learn to find yourself through self-care and all the above, which is really good. Like, I wish I could do as much self-care as you do, skincare, all the above. Like, I cannot. But anyways, I would define individuality as like certain qualities that make someone different from everyone else. And I think, yeah, like you were saying, like over time, like I didn't find myself until college. Like, same. I also began to do different things and take a different route. Mind you, like mine was post like mental health relapse. I was finding my personality again. But I think most people do tend to find themselves until college or after, like that young adulthood is where they actually start
That is
to
very
be like,
true.
who am I and who do I want to be? Because I'm no longer under the pressures of my peers and my school classmates. Like, there's no pressure under me to meet a certain standard or look like them. And I think that gives you some sense of freedom.
You're right about that. I think I used to be not proud of being a Korean American, and because obviously friends groups, when you look at it, it's like you want to be the whitest that you want, pretty much. And during college, like I started to find more of my culture, other Asian cultures as well. I felt like people in college don't really care as much. Honestly, college, no one really cares about how you look. I found myself through like knowing my culture and like knowing that Korean, like a lot of people loves Korean food these days, which is crazy. Like Korean, obviously everyone knows Korean barbecue.
Korean barbecue slaps.
I know, but I think even like K-pop, a lot of people loves that as well. Like you get into your culture and you find those similar commonalities with other like people, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And versus going back to like elementary school, you're like, oh, I have to be that person, being someone else, and always finding that common ground with someone else is so much like, oh wow, this is amazing that I get to share this experience with someone.
All right, moving on. Name childhood friendship experiences that you can remember. And then a follow up question is, did those stick with you throughout the years or did they fall apart?
I have some childhood friends, and they're still friends to me to today, but we don't talk as often because we're working girlies here. So I only see them like every once a year or like twice. But we've been friends since some of them since elementary school, first grade. I think now like probably like some was middle school. There's always ups and downs because obviously that's friendships. We were still young, so we were trying to figure out like how friends work kind of way and how we be with each other, or like how do we hang out. Obviously we had a lot of free time back then, but as I got older, like it's kind of hard to like we only catch up. Like I love catching up with like old friends.
And then people go their separate ways too, like distance wise. Like it's not always easy to, hit them up and see them.
That's very true.
All right, I can share mine. My initial friend group developed in private school. I mean, I wasn't exposed to a lot of classmates. Like, I wasn't in a public school. So the kids I grew up with from kindergarten were the kids I graduated with in 8th grade. And
Crazy.
it's crazy. It has its pros and cons. Like, it's a smaller class setting. You get more individualized attention. Not that I ever did, but there's a possibility for that in private school. That's why parents seek them out for their kids. But another thing, like, everyone in my class knew everything about everyone and their personal life and their family life. They knew it because we were so like together. It was like a homeschool co-op basically, but with like 20 kids.
I'll be scared.
It was horrifying actually.
Jeez.
And like I said, I was bullied, literally for everything and anything. Because I was socially awkward. I wasn't exposed to people outside of school. Like I had a lot of learning disabilities. I had social anxiety. I was sick. So of course there were reasons to bully me, you know. My initial friend group developed pretty early on, and I think like around the second, third grade, and then we continued on. But we were the group that always excluded themselves. We were not with the main group of people, so everyone would bully us because we were the outcasts and we were the weird kids, and we just wanted to sit in the corner and read and do whatever. Not that I didn't want to be part of everyone else's group, but it was like I felt excluded by everyone else because whenever I would try to hang out with them, they would associate me with them. And they were like, don't you belong to their group? And I'm like, yeah, but I want to hang with y'all. And they were like, that's kind of weird. Like, why are you here? Basically.
That's kids are brutal.
They're so brutal.
Like going back to my elementary experience, like I moved a lot, so like a lot of friends shift, and for me, like I love to be friends. I was a chatterbox, so like I wouldn't stop talking, and a lot of my teachers would be like, she needs to shut up. Like,
No.
like basically, I was like a class clown. I went to like public and private school as well. Like I knew everyone. Like I was, unfortunately, I was the it girl. So I knew everyone. I knew everyone's gossip. I knew everyone's like everyone trusted me with everything. I think there were some friends like, oh, why are you friends with this person? You shouldn't be friends with that person. It got to me like, why don't we just be friends together? Basically, which is so funny.
Literally. But no, that's not how kids work out their relationships. They always gotta form the cliques, the groups. Like it's a popularity, it's a competition, it's whatnot. And then like another thing is literally I grew up dancing. I started when I was around 10 or 11, and I kid you not, the friendships I made there, I have a ton of them still to this day.
Crazy.
Which is weird. It's like people I would spend every waking living moment with at my school. I don't talk to any of them, but I talk to people I went to dance class with when I was 10.
That's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually people will be like, oh, I'm still friends with this person since like first grade, second grade, you know, because I grew up. Obviously, a lot of Asian people do karate, or like people in Korean culture called taekwondo.
Yeah, girl.
It's so interesting. Like I had like both. You have like the both side, like school friends and like
your after school friends, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just goes to show how horrible these people were that I went to school with. Like y'all, like none of y'all could have like, I don't know. But then again, I was a weird kid. I have to admit, like I was weird, but it wasn't my fault.
It's okay.
So whatever. I hold no bitterness on that. No, but I'm super grateful for the friendships I did make because it was like a relief. Like, oh, you're normal. You're accepting me. Like, I don't have to pretend around you. Like, I can be a kid around you.
That's so true. Like when you know that you feel like you're so comfortable, when you're weird. Like everyone has their weird side to know. And I think it's so interesting when people accept you. Like, oh my god, I feel loved. I feel like I don't need to act something that I'm not.
Yeah, and also like they don't know your past.
That's
so I think that helps so much, and has helped me so much with like making friends as I grow, because they don't know the stuff I did back then. Like they don't keep that under my belt whenever I'm trying to talk to them. But yeah, that's just my elementary school experience. But moving on to adolescence, how did that go for you? Like in high school, middle school, how were those friendships?
I think they were rough for me. Obviously I still have some friends from like elementary school, so they can't, obviously when you go to elementary school to middle school, they all come with you. But obviously there's some, if you're like living in a certain area parts of so I kind of went to like 2 middle school and 2 high schools, so like I moved a lot because of bullying. It was very hard for me because I wasn't really in school, to be honest. I didn't want to go to school. Like I hated school. Like I asked my parents to dismiss me because I was just like could not take like the pain and people saying like I had friends and people like, why you keep going away, or like those kind of things. People will be like, go back to your country, or like you don't need to be here. Like people would tell me certain things, and I realized they've been bullied before. And when you go to principals or anything, they don't do anything. Even for high school, I felt like more isolated. Every time people see me around the streets, they're like, I thought you were the popular girl. I thought you were like the one that everyone goes to. But actually I wasn't, because people would just make fun of me, or like wouldn't see me. But I was just like very introverted, but I just felt very hurt from a lot of past. Like, I didn't want to talk to anyone. Like, a lot of people wanted to talk to me, but I refused to talk to them. Like, I refused to be their friends during high school because it was like very hard. There was a lot of I did get cyberbullied during the time in freshman year of high school, and then I moved schools. It was fine. I think high school, like I would say, like everyone's so brutal. Like, I'm gonna keep saying that because it's like people who gets bullied have been bullied before. That's why I said you lose a lot of friendship, and you know who your real friend or not, and that's why this podcast probably is called Fake Friends.
Fake friends, yeah, absolutely. I know the middle school and high school years are some of the most toxic, extreme, most disheveling years of one's life as we're developing the hormones. Like, we're growing, we're learning how to do so many things. It's the self-esteem for me. I feel like I had so many self-esteem issues coming out of my private school of 11 years of literally being humiliated, ridiculed, and just feeling like I was never good enough or never worthy to have anything. So I came into high school being very like insecure about myself, how I looked, how I acted, how I presented myself. I was quiet. I was super shy. I remember having such a difficult time like speaking to anyone. Like, I would wait till they spoke to me. Like, I would literally be quiet.
Oh my God,
But like, it's not that I didn't want friends. I was just like, how do I approach someone? This is so weird. And like, I labeled myself the weird kid. Like, I was like, let me just, I don't know. I have my quirks, but like I was just trying to find myself. And so eventually I just joined that group of girls that like kept in themselves or whatever. And like, it was fine. But there was also like people who would bully the quiet kids. Like, I can't win. Like, even if I'm not doing anything, some jerk is still going to find some way to embarrass, ridicule me, laugh at me, call me names. Like,
you're not wrong
everywhere else.
Not wrong about that. And I can relate to you about that. Like, I just kept to myself, and people will come up to me and talk to me, and I'm like, okay. And then like, obviously the only people I would actually talk to is like people in my class, and like, and after that when I get home, I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone. Like, I didn't go to prom because I just like didn't.
I also did not go to prom. Oh my gosh.
No,
That's a whole story for another day.
Yeah, I just didn't like anyone in my high school. Obviously, if you don't go to football games and like those kind of things, classify yourself as like the cheerleader or like doing sports for high school, you're not considered worth to talk to.
Yeah. But then I feel like as I kind of got more comfortable in the public school setting, that opened the door to me being a toxic person. I was stealing friends, creating drama. I lived for the drama. I was stealing people's mans. Like, senior year mostly, but I was reckless. I always wanted to be in the middle of like the drama, the tea, like who's going through this, because I like the rush that it gave me. In a way, it gave me that power back, like after all those years. And then I continued those habits in college, and that is not what you should be doing in college.
That's crazy. That's why toxicity is dopamine, guys. I think for me, I was like the Asian like kid that would like know everything, like I was a goody two shoe during that time in high school. Like, I would do my homework, go to like stay after school with teachers, literally do my homework during class, and like basically finish in 1 second.
Wow, not me.
Yeah, I was like that kid, and everyone wanted to know the answer, and they're like, oh, I know you're that smart. I'm like, I'm not. I just like do my work. It's so easy. It's not that hard. Just want to get past that 4 years of high school.
Literally, I just wanted to be done with it. Like, I just didn't know who I was. Like, I was so confused.
High school's kind of like a weird time, though. You're going through puberty, but at the same time, you're going through like different hormones levels. And you're like actually figure out like sexuality, then you're like everything else. It's like everything comes at once, honestly.
I know, and nobody gives high schoolers like a break. Like, I feel like now that I am in my 20s was when I genuinely got to act and be like a kid and be relaxed and be able to have that freedom to, just let loose and do whatever, and in high school everyone was like, you're going to be an adult soon, you're going to be an adult, you have to learn this and this, how the world works, taxes, college applications, you have to study. So much was held over our heads, and like it just broke me.
That's very true. And also, like, I always think about like, oh, what is my friends going to go to the same college as me? Do I really want to see high school friends in my college, or like you're gonna manage college classes, are you gonna manage all these other things? And I think people always say 20s probably like the new teenagers, and then like 30s are like the new like 20s, which is weird.
No, but I feel that because I mean, we need a break. It was so stressful.
That's true. And also, people were going through COVID times as well.
Oh God, COVID! Don't get me started. That's a whole podcast.
No, for real.
But friendship in adulthood, I feel like here I was more careful. I was obviously exposed to the really bad and the really good all at once. When it came to adult friendships. But for me, like whenever I make friends now, I feel like I consider more of myself, my personal health, how I want to be treated by this person, you know? I like assess so many different things when back in the day I was like, oh, you're popular, let's be friends. Oh, you have this, let me benefit from you. Like, no, we shouldn't be taking advantage of people at this age.
I agree completely. Like, obviously, I moved to a new like area. It was very hard to like try to make friends. Like, you're like, do I make friends in work or do you make friends in other places? Like, do you go out to bars? Do you go out to like clubs or like restaurants or grocery stores to find friends, basically? And I think it was really hard for me to find like friends during adulthood because I still have friends from college, but I always like, okay, I'm gonna come back to them, so like it's not like a big deal to me. And also, like for me, I don't care how many friends I have, to be honest. In adulthood, you don't care how many friends you have. As long as you have like two or three good friends, you know that you can trust and like know that you value and you guys have the same value of like those friendships. I think it's always more important. Like, I always think about like, how can I trust you, or how can I like, can we rely on each other? I always value like what a true friend is. Versus back then, I would be like, I need to be like them.
Yeah, it's a comparison that you like have to be
Yeah.
the same.
Basically, when I was a kid, it's like survival of the fittest. You need to fit in. For adulthood, it's like, okay, let me just be careful, like who I trust, because people do stab you in the back, and there's a lot of drama. Okay, drama's gonna follow you anywhere.
Everywhere. It does not stop when you get older. It gets more severe. But it's a way of like avoiding it. Like, what do you want for yourself? Where do you want to place yourself in life?
That's very
Remove yourself if it's too toxic. Like,
yeah, I know that like boundaries. I know how to like have the mutual feeling, like we're both replying to like if you guys want to hang out or not, instead of like it'd be one sided. And then you know to how to cut people off too.
yeah, absolutely. You have to know. Self-respect is a big thing. Do you respect yourself? Do you see your worth? And I know some people struggle. Like, I'm not like calling anyone out who like who struggles with that, because I've been there. We've been there.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up in like horrible situations. But you know, it's all the process of time. It involves healing. It involves learning about yourself. It's a journey of self-discovery. So
That's
that
very
is what
true.
life is, and there's no way around it.
You're not wrong about that. It's not gonna come overnight. Like, it took us too many years. We're still young, but I think we're still learning about friendship as well. Like, we're not perfect in these friendships. You're gonna have these ups and downs with friends in adulthood. I do believe the true meaning, like, friends do go. Like, I think it's called, what is this called?
A season?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, yeah, different seasons with different friends. Like, I read this quote where it was like, some people like are just characters in an episode in your life, and then like they can't stay here forever even though you want them to, which is so hard. So to you, what is the balance between work friends and work setting friendships?
Like, obviously, when you first go into work, like, you're making basically like making new friends. But I try to be careful, like, what I say. But some people are like, they don't want to be friends during work, and they make it really clear.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine with me. Like, work is work. You just want to get your money and just like leave. Do your work basically, and do like leave basically. I currently started a new job not too long ago. Like, probably, it's almost a year now, which is crazy.
Your big girl job.
Yeah, my big
So
girl
proud.
job. Thank you. I made some new friends. Like, at first we were all like scared and timid. It's good to make friends during work, but sometimes I think I kind of like play it out with the settings and see how, if I should like go for it or don't. Because when you're an adult, it's hard to make friends. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Even after you graduate, you're like, oh, what do I do next? And the only friends you can actually make is during work, pretty much. And that's how me and Nadia became friends.
Isn't true? Yeah. But a big thing is like to not reveal anything about your personal life. I feel like I'm pretty big on that. Unless I have worked with you for like a couple months or a year. I feel like I'm at the point with some of my coworkers, like I've been at my company for about like almost 2 years now. And for some of them, like I tell them like I struggle with mental health on this area. I told someone today that I do a podcast on mental health. But I feel like it takes time. Like definitely like I'm very observant of people. I know that I have been very open with coworkers in the past, and it has not been pretty. It has been dangerous in some extent, like relationship wise, like stalking. Like I've had so many issues.
That's unfortunate that happened to you. Like for work setting, I'd always try to keep it as like work business. A lot of like people will say to me like, don't make friends out of a work setting because it's not like,
Yeah, it's not professional.
yeah.
All right, our perspective on friend groups. I've had a couple, so many growing up. I think that's just part of life. You have your little friend groups. They
Yeah.
split apart, they exclude you. Things happen. What is your view on mixing friend groups? You know, when you have like a party or you're hosting someone and you invite different people from different friend groups that you're a part of. What do you think about that?
I'm very neutral on it, to be honest, because it depends on like, I kind of like play out everyone's personality. If I was gonna host a party, like obviously I'm gonna invite all my friends as much as I can, but obviously you're gonna see like people will separate. They're not gonna make new friends. For me, I'm from a different city, and I live in a different city as well, and I do have friends in both areas. And it's very like for me, I'd rather not mix friend groups. That way, I'm not making them uncomfortable or feeling like
Yeah.
they're they have to meet them.
For sure. I know I'm someone who, if I walk into a party and I see a bunch of people I don't know, I'm going to feel awkward and not know how to act. But no, for sure. I feel like the only time where I feel like I would mix a friend group would be for my birthday, which I've done, or like a party. But you set the expectations. I feel like it's important to communicate with everyone in advance, like, hey, I'm inviting people from this place, from my old school, from this club I was a part of, from church. Like, I feel like you should communicate with everyone a gist of who is going to be there, you know, just to not like surprise them. And I know that can be super awkward for some people who struggle with social anxiety and being in large group settings. So I know how that feels. So I feel like I want to be sure to communicate and to not make the group excessively big, you know?
I totally agree. I think a lot of adults do that as well. Like, I think the only time people actually mix friend group is like if they're hosting a party or like they're going out to a big event or something like that. And then like the later future, they probably don't end up talking to each other. It's just like, oh, I've seen you before. Next time we meet up, hit me up, something like that.
Yeah.
That's fine, to be honest. Like, it's not like they're gonna be the bestest friends, you know? It really depends on a person, to be honest.
Okay. Now it's time for the tea.
Ooh.
Girl, I want to hear some tea on clicks, gossip, rumors, any trauma you got in that area.
Oh my
'Cause
God.
it is such a heavy topic.
Girl, I have so many stories.
Yeah, me too.
For one, so I grew up in a Christian like slash Catholic household as well, and Christian Korean like churches are like known for like cliques. If you guys, if all my Korean, if you have any Korean girlies that who is Christian and knows these cliques are like, you guys know what I'm talking about. Cliques in church are like brutal, worse than school sometimes.
Oh, heck yeah.
I wasn't allowed to hang out with certain people at like church. Like if you hang out with this person, they will talk bad about you for hanging out for one person, or they will talk bad about you saying that, oh, you like this church boy, and why'd you like him? And then they would go after your like church boy. Some of the girls, some of the church girls will be like, you're so ugly, and I'm like, oh, okay. Or they're like, why did you hang out with her? You're not supposed to hang out with her. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a rule for hanging out with someone. You get more hurt and more trauma from that.
Being in a clique for sure. But we're all guilty of it. I feel like when we get accepted into a group, we just want to be like part of that group forever.
Yeah.
You know, and then that like even like situations in a clique can become so intense, especially like if it involves relationships, if it involves people falling in love with other people, like that.
Don't get me started.
Messy. Ooh.
Oh my goodness. During college, like obviously there's cliques. A lot of cliques. You probably hear that a lot. A lot of Asian clubs have cliques like sororities or like those. I was not in part of a sorority, but if you're part of like a certain club, some of the people was not invited, like some of my friends. Worst part is if you're dating with one of each other and then you end up breaking up, right? It's the worst, and you get shunned real fast, and it's
real
so
quick.
I didn't know that. And then because once you're part of the clique, you're like your headspace is like that's all you know, which is kind of sad to hear that.
Hate that, but it's like also a universal experience to just be in that circle of drama and hatred and revenge, and like it is horrible, but you grow from it. I have a couple experiences by that my senior year. Every girl in my friend group dated the one guy in our friend group. It was horrible.
No.
Yeah, we all
That
just
is
took turns.
crazy.
And then when someone would break up with him, like we would just like go like be like, oh, he was a jerk. But on the side, like we would always be like rooting for him, like, oh yeah, you guys weren't meant to be. And then someone else would like take him. That was my senior year. But I want to go a little bit before. I'm gonna go back to middle school. I'm gonna dig out my roots of my private school.
Oh my God.
The outcasts, whatever we were. It was a group of like 4 to 5 girls. I feel like we would switch out people every other year. We would just like bring the weird kids in, to our group because, nobody else would accept them except us.
Mm-hmm.
I remember towards, I think, 8th grade, it was the boy band era.
5 Seconds of Summer, One Direction.
I was a directioner, but not even so. I was obsessed with like boy bands in general. 21 Pilots, that's when my obsession began. Yeah. I don't know if you can recall. What were you?
Yeah, I love boy bands. Like, people in groups will fight over these like
Yes.
boys. We were boy crazy, but we weren't like more obsessed with like boy like band like
Boy bands, like we were just thinking like who could I potentially marry, like what is the age gap type thing, like
yeah.
all that. We were crazy. But anyways, going back to my emo 21 Pilots phase, I was emo in middle school. Side note, my friends in my group introduced me to them, and at first glance I was like, what is this? Like, they're so weird, it's so quirky, it's different. And then one day I just listened to their whole album, Vessel, and I just fell in love. But these girls at that time, I was starting to get the hints that they didn't really like me. I was being excluded from a lot of our little hangouts, and like I wouldn't take much to it. Like, I did confront them a couple times, and it would always be like, oh, I'm not being a good enough friend, I'm not doing enough, whatever, I don't care, no F's given, because I was an emo girl. But with 21 Pilots, I was like, oh, my one dream would be to go to a 21 Pilots concert.
Oh my.
And I know some of the girls had gone like individually with their parents or like with their other friends. They've gone before. And so it was the possibility of me going with them. Lo and behold, 8th grade year or something, maybe the summer of 8th grade, whatever, I see a post on Instagram. And it's all of them at this 21 Pilots concert. And no invite whatsoever, even though I had at this point expressed how much I love 21 Pilots. Yo, after I saw this post, I left that group chat so quick. I was like, y'all hurt me, you guys exclude me, you guys don't treat me like a friend, being so dramatic. Me at 13, 14, just letting it down, like letting it all go, speaking my mind. And ever since then, I don't think we hung out. I mean, we hung out maybe once or twice like later, because we were all like dancers or whatever. We would obviously see each other then. Other than that, I really feel like that's when I began to distance myself from the one and only friend group I ever had as a kid.
Damn.
And I was like, dang, y'all are so fake. And like, that wasn't even the only example. Like, I knew I wasn't a likable person because I was like rude, I was awkward, I was blunt. There's always an issue with my tone and the way I speak. But I feel like if people know me now, they're way more understanding of it, because like I come across like I'm very open, and I'm like, this is who I am. Like, I don't mean to be rude, I don't mean to talk like this, that's just how I talk, and I can't help it. I'm sorry.
It's like,
Take it or leave it.
That's so true. I kind of experienced something similar, but in college, what you said, this friend group that I used to had, they've been friends since like elementary / high school, and they were just like always hanging out, and like I thought I was friends with them, but they would make plans in front of my face, and I'm
that right there, my ick. I can't.
No, I think that really hurt me. I'm like the most, because I'm like, do it when I'm not in front of you, you know?
At least like have the common courtesy.
I hate when people whisper to each other about something that I'm like in front of you too. And I'm like, if you guys gonna whisper somewhere else where people don't feel hurt.
Yeah, say it louder. Why don't you?
That's why it broke me a little bit. Like, oh, I thought we're friends, and then they act like friends when you're one-on-one with them. You're fake, you know?
Yeah, I think more recently I've had way more experience with that. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I am cursed in some shape or form, because I introduce people to each other. We all become a big, great friend group. I have beef with someone. They like block me, whatever, get so fed up for something I did, even though for the most part, it's not my fault. I ask for forgiveness. they didn't want to take it, whatever. And then they just become friends with everyone else and spread rumors about me till the day I die. Like, why does this happen?
That's
It happens so often to me, like right now. Like, people just be spreading lies and talking about stuff I did in the past when I was like way less developed. Like, why are you keeping it? Like, why are you holding on to it?
that's so childish.
And you're not coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're just spreading it. You keep spreading, like stirring the pot with something I did and just keep making it bigger and bigger to turn other people against me.
Yeah.
When I'm the one that introduced you to them.
That is so childish. And
Very.
I think for me, like, a lot of adults act like a child or admit their actions. And it's just, I'm like, you guys are adults. If I did something wrong, tell me. Like, that way I can approve and, like, know what I did. Instead of, like, spreading something that is not true.
Instead of just blocking me without any explanation. Like, please.
Yeah. I experienced it during work cliques, too. Our workplace had cliques.
We can't escape it. Oh, my gosh.
No, you can't. And a lot of people wanted to be friends with this one person. I got introduced by a lot of, like, other coworkers as well. And we were all friends. I thought we were all friends. Let me rephrase myself. But it was like a little clique. I wasn't really friends with Nadia that during the time, but unfortunately, I wish I was friends with her. I was so like, I need to be like doing all this stuff with them. And then when people get a boyfriend, they become our clique apparently. I think when she got a boyfriend, I think she had to be with him 24/7. Like, that was part of her clique. And like when I tried to hang out with her one-on-one, it's like, oh, you can't. They're like a package deal.
The boyfriend has to be there.
The boyfriend has to be there. And I'm like, why? And then another friend I was working with had a girlfriend already, but like, I have to like
fifth wheeling.
And that they're like, this is our group. They will like try to set me up with a lot of dudes that they know, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, leave me alone for it. And also they would make fun of me, and not in a good way. I was being like downgraded. And her boyfriend will like downgrade me so much. And I felt like, why am I in this group if I'm going to get made fun of? And they're like, oh, just a joke. But sometimes a joke can be really hurtful.
Absolutely.
And they thought it was okay. And I think I tried to hang out with them one time to catch up because they were coming from a trip. She was coming from a trip. And I was like, do you want to hang out? She's like, oh, you have to hang out with him. I was like, you can't hang out one-on-one. You can hang out one-on-one. You don't need your boyfriend. And I don't need to dirt world every single time. I love to hang out one-on-one with a lot of my friends. It's like quality time. I love quality. Like, my love language, quality time.
Yeah.
I hate when friends like, oh, I need my boyfriend 24/7. Do you not have your own like individual like personality? They're like, no. Basically, they need to be one. I'm like,
yeah. What makes it worse is how disrespectful the boyfriend is to you.
Yeah. And I even told her like, hey, your boyfriend did X, Y, and Z, but I'm not gonna go into it as deeply because it's like I'm kind of over it because it's like very childish.
Very childish, and like you confront them, and then they make it your fault.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Take accountability. I like, please.
A lot of friend groups and cliques will always rely on me, and I'm like a little bit too much, and I'm like, it gets very tiring.
Yeah.
And it makes you don't want to have a friend sometimes.
Oh no, but yeah, you shouldn't have to go through that. Okay, name your top 3 negative traits that impact a friendship. For me, I would say number 1, the exclusion. I cannot be in a state of FOMO. I will die. Number 2, the betrayal. Enough said. People can be so hurtful and think that it is okay to hurt a person and make them feel so broken, vulnerable, and they take advantage of that. So the betrayal. And then number 3, the competition. Why are we competing if it's a friendship? You know?
I hate that.
What are your top 3?
I do agree with all your points. There's a lot of gaslighting in friends, and I hate that. And then it makes you rethink of yourself, and you're like, oh, it's my fault. And it hurts yourself as well. I hate the gaslighting. Being so secretive. Like, you're in a friend group and you can't tell the whole people. And then you're like, you tell only 1 or 2. And then when you guys go together, it's like, why can't you be straight up with me?
Yeah.
And I think the last one for me, it's like, I think it's a betrayal too. The loyalty like you put out. And then after someone stabs you in the back and be like, there you go. Christmas present, but the worst ones.
Yeah. Like, surprise, here's the real me.
Yeah.
You wasted my time, thank you. But on the other hand, let's look at the positive. I would say honesty, being able to be vulnerable, and reliability. Those are my top 3.
I would say loyalty, being straight up, like obviously the honesty as well. Honestly, I agree with all of yours. Like, I love when we have trauma bonding, to be honest.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, someone can to be related with.
Someone can understand me.
Also, when you trauma bond with someone, they're like your friends forever, not gonna lie.
Yeah. How did we grow from a failed friendship? Like, what did we learn? Or if we made amends with them, what did we do?
I did have failed friendship and we end up going back to each other. We made the mistakes and I just tell them like, hey, you did hurt me. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I want to hear like, yeah, I did it. I didn't mean to do that. Also, like growing from failed friendship, it helped me learn about myself. Like you learn about true colors and you learn about yourself as a person more. And how you treat friends and how you set boundaries for yourself as well with friendship. What about you?
For me, I learned to give grace to people. Over time, I grew to understand that people may act some way because of what they went through. And whether they have shared that with me or not, I know that a lot of how people act and express themselves is because they have some deep rooted pain or insecurity about themselves. So being able to give grace, I think, is a big part of being the bigger person. If a friendship comes to clash or have any conflict with it, another thing would be to give room to people, to give space. You know, some people need their space to calm down, to reflect, to regain their sense of mind and mentality, to regain that stability. So I would say give room if you're in a state of conflict, for sure. Giving room does not mean like it can range from a couple hours to a year. But I feel like if that person wants to genuinely rebuild a relationship, they will reach out again. Or you can reach out again and they should be able to respond, you know?
Yeah.
And then lastly, to give time. I think people need time to reflect. They need time to grow. Being able to give that to them, I think, is the greatest form of respect. Or being there for them, you know?
Yeah.
One or the other.
I love your points.
How would you maintain a good friendship, Claudia? Like, what would you say about that?
I'll say always set boundaries. I always continue to say this in your podcast.
We're big on boundaries.
I am. Like, make time for yourself. Obviously, I always do that a lot for myself. And just that way you're not putting too much out there as well. Share the truth with each other and not be blindly to like show basically like, oh, I need to be someone who I'm not. If they don't like me who I am, then then I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time and space. Like you're wasting my time and energy. And so I'd rather someone have that communication as well.
Communication is so valuable. I think that goes into my next point. Maintaining a good friendship, or like what I just said, the point I was going to make, communication, first and foremost. Communication, being attentive, being open.
Yeah.
You know, all of that is so important because the number one reason people start arguing is because of a communication issue. Someone misheard, misunderstood this, and now the other person is the bad guy. Like, no, let's think about it a little more, you know? Let's repair. Let's fix our wounds.
That way you can learn and grow.
Exactly. How have your friendship experiences shaped you as a whole? Just to wrap things up.
I would say you learn a lot about yourself and you learn about like what values you value in a friend. You don't need that much friends in order to maintain a good friendship.
In order to be happy.
That's so true. And like you can have one really good friend and just call it a day.
And have the world.
Yeah.
My experiences, for sure, there were so many ups and downs, but in the end, I am proud of the friends that I made. I feel like right now I'm at a point where I literally, genuinely, and truly have the best friends. 100%. I'm very proud of what I've done and been able to like reconcile some friendships and been able to make new ones and form connections. I feel very supported, and it's to a point where like I have so many friends now. As a girl who started out being a loner and outcast to now looking at the people I have in my life who see me as their mentor, as people they look up to.
That's so cute.
It is so
amazing.
Cool. Like it is amazing. And every friendship like I make, like I intend to be genuine with you. I'm not going to put up a barrier. I'm very open with my story. As you know, like first and foremost, like I could literally meet you and they're like, tell me about yourself. I will tell you about myself. Like it is not would. It is not gonna be like anything surface level. I'm not gonna hide anything. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like genuinely, like I struggle with this. I do this. Like this is what I do in my free time, lack thereof. This is what I do. You know, this is me, and there's no hiding to it because like our imperfections like make us who we are.
That's so true. Yeah. When I first met Nadia, I think I was like, oh, like we actually got into deep, basically trauma bond.
We trauma bonded.
She was very real and straight up. She could be a little bit too straight up though, but
Yes.
and honest. But I love that about her though. Like those things. Like I love my friends now. Like I love my friends back in my hometown, and I love my friends here as well. Like I don't have a lot of friends the city that I live in right now. It's okay because I just love just talking to like one or two people or like one or two friends or like they're like genuinely my real friends. And then even my home friends as back home, like they're my friends as well. Like 'cause I don't get to see them often because we're all busy with work. That's what is unfortunately that's how adulthood is. We love that.
Yeah, but we can figure it out. So we have 3 key points as with every episode in this series. We have 3 takeaway points for you guys. Do you want to read the first one?
I would say set boundaries with your friends. If you can't take a lot of like hangouts and those kind of things, take a mental break. It's okay. Your friends are gonna be like, F you.
They shouldn't do that or else they're not real friends.
Yeah.
Duh.
That's so true. Like, set boundaries for yourself, set boundaries with your friends. And then you can't go to your friends all the time. Like, you can't go to every single hangout. It's okay. They're gonna still be there. Like, if they're your true friends. And you want to read to the second point?
Yeah. Letting your friends see your true authentic self. There is nothing to hide. If we can take anything away from what we share today is that we spent most of our lives, childhood, middle school, high school, even college, pretending to be someone we're not. And until we found ourselves, that's when we were able to find the genuine people, the ones that stayed.
That's so true.
You know, so being your authentic self is definitely up there.
And people say this is so cheesy, but it's not. It's literally...
It's life. And then the third one.
Exceptions of friendships coming and going. There's our seasons for friends. And I'll say, like, it's okay to let friends go. It's not, like, the end of the world. You're gonna make new friends. We're not getting any younger, but, like, obviously it's okay to have friends come and go. What are you gonna say about the third point?
That third point, it definitely comes with a lot of grief. I think some friendships that are bad for you are super hard to let go. And that may take years, even your whole life. But just knowing that there will always be new people coming in. You will always be filled with new people, new experiences, new acquaintances. I think just having that is very reassuring to think like, I'm not going to end up alone. Like, no. You will always be able to meet someone new. And again, we have to discern if they're a good fit, if we should keep them in our lives. But all in all, the older I've gotten, the better friendship, the better discernment I've been able to have in making true friends.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm having the best time living the time with them, just like as an adult as well. Like, it's very hard to have that work-life balance. I'm still figuring it out as well with friends. You need friends to basically, they're like a little joy of sunshine every single time you see them.
That's where you get the dopamine. That's
Yeah.
not toxic.
That's so true.
Well, Claudia, it has been an honor having you on my podcast. I love how you're so well-spoken, genuine, and have been such a good friend. Like, you are the perfect one to do this podcast with because you were the opposite of fake, basically. But yeah, but that wraps up this Fake Friends episode. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing the tea that we spilled and we have to clean up right now. Claudia, you want to put something out there for the people to get to know you?
Thank you, Nani, for having me. I'm so excited for this podcast to come out soon. But please go follow her and subscribe to her, please.
Thank you. You can find this podcast again on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, honestly. But thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. Until next time, I hope you guys have a good one. Bye.